Hey guys, how you doing this week? That's awesome. So glad to hear from y'all. So, our story this week is phenomenal. It's got fencing, it's got fighting, it's got torture, revenge, giants, monsters, chases, escapes, true love, miracles. Well, maybe not all that's true, but it is a great story. Our story this week is about Queen Esther. Now, Esther was a Jewish woman who lived in Persia. And the story doesn't open up with Esther. It actually opens up at the king's party. And this is King Xerxes. Xerxes had a beautiful wife, and he wanted to show her off to all the royal people there. But the thing is he wasn't treating his wife right. So when he asked for her to come and show off, she said, "Nope, I don't want to do that." So the king kicked her out of the castle. Well, the next day, the king remembered what happened. He told his advisors, "Hey, I gotta get a new wife. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a beauty pageant, and all the beautiful, eligible young women in the kingdom can come and be a part of the beauty pageant." Well, Esther was one of those women that went to the beauty pageant. Her cousin Mordecai was actually help at the gates and everything there. So he helped get her in, get her ready, and then she went, and she was actually chosen to be queen of Persia. Huge honor. Well, Mordecai was at the gates one day, and he overheard a plan to kill the king. Mordecai went and told Esther about it, and Esther went and told the king about it, and the men that were talking, well, they were thrown into jail. And the king was sitting around trying to think of a way that he could thank Mordecai. One of his advisors, Haman, was there. Haman didn't really like the Jewish people. He especially didn't like Mordecai. Whenever Haman walked by, everybody had to bow. But Mordecai, he wouldn't bow. So Haman just hated Mordecai. The king sat there, thinking of a way to thank Mordecai. And he asked Haman, he said, "Hey Haman, if I want to show somebody that I'm thankful and I'm pleased with them, what should I do?" And Haman thought that the king was talking about himself, so he said, "Here's what you do, Mr. King, sir. You take that man, and you put your crown on his head. You give him the finest clothes. You put him on your horse, and you have one of the royal officials lead him through the streets of the city, saying, 'This is a man that the king is pleased with.'" King Xerxes looking at him, he's liking this idea that Haman's coming up with. And he says, "All right, Haman, that's a good plan. I want you to do that for Mordecai. And I want you to be the one that leads through the streets saying, 'This is a man in whom the king is well pleased.'" Haman hated it. He couldn't believe that not only was it him that was getting the reward, but that he had to lead the person that he did not like through the streets. That night, after leading Mordecai through the streets, Haman came up with a plan. He came up with a plan to kill all the Jews of Persia. That included Mordecai. What Haman didn't know was that it included Esther too. Haman took his plan to the king, and the king signed off saying, "Let it be done." And when the king signed off on something, it couldn't be undone. Not even the king could undo it. When Mordecai learned about the plot to kill all the Jews, he went to Esther, and he begged her to go before the king. But Esther was afraid. See, the king, if you went in at the wrong time or if he wasn't happy, he could kill you. And Esther was afraid to enter because she could die. And this is what Mordecai told her. Mordecai said, if you keep silent at this, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place. But you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such time as this. Mordecai was reminding Esther she's part of a bigger story. She's part of God's plan. So Esther asked him to fast for her and all the Jewish people to fast while she went to go see the king. She walked in. The king was sitting on his throne. He saw her approaching. Esther was so scared. Could this be the day that she dies? Will the king let her live or not? Will the king let her live? And she invited the king to a dinner party, along with Haman. Haman was feeling really, really good about himself. He was having dinner, not just with the queen, but with the queen and the king. That's a big deal. At the dinner, Esther was trying to figure out if she should tell the king or not. She thought about it. And then she invited the king to another dinner party. The king was excited. Another dinner party? He couldn't wait. And at that dinner party, Esther approached him. He offered her something. He said, what is it that you would like, Esther? You can have even parts of the kingdom. But what is it that you would like? And she told him about the plot to kill all the Jews. The king was like, yes, I remember this. What about it? And Esther told him that Mordecai was a Jew. And that he was her cousin. That she was a Jew. And that by letting this happen, he would be killing his queen. Xerxes was furious. How could this happen? Who was it that came up with this decree? And Esther told him, Haman did it. Haman came up with this decree to kill the Jews. Xerxes was furious. Why? How could Haman do this? But there was no way that he could repeal the law. It was already written. It had to be done. So he made another law saying that when the time came, the Jewish people could defend themselves. That day, not a Jewish person died. You see, Haman had made something to kill Mordecai at. But instead of Mordecai dying, Haman was killed there instead. The Jewish people celebrated their saving. They call that day Purim. And it still happens today. Esther was a part of God's big plan. And you are too. It might not be as big as saving everyone. But you are a part of God's plan. I wonder what it is you will do. I'll see y'all next week.